I'm Andrea Ray, and we're here at the AQS QuiltWeek in Grand Rapids. Now, Grand Rapids is a little bit unique from all of our other contests in that we have the Ultimate Guild Challenge here. And this group of ladies behind me are with the Tuesday Night Friends, and their challenge, I've got the quilting bug, took first place. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Andrea. We are very excited to hear the news.
Excellent. Now, can you tell us a little bit about your specific challenge? Because you actually set your own kind of rules and guidelines based on ours. Can you tell us about those?
Yes, we were very excited that the AQS show came here last year. So we all came to visit and we looked at the Guild Challenge and we thought this was a perfect opportunity for us to work on a new project. Absolutely. So we sat around, we went right home from the show and we all sat around and just brainstormed all kinds of ideas for what would make a unique and fun challenge. Mm-hmm. And we came up with the idea to do something about bugs. And one thing led to another, and another member said, well, why don't we zoom in very close and get a real detailed shot of those bugs?
Which you absolutely did here. Now, can we take a minute? I'd like to let each one kind of talk about their individual quilt and tell us a little bit about the technique and the quilting, anything you would like to point out.
My name's Ruth Lacoe from Ann Arbor, Michigan. And I chose the Lubber grasshopper. It's the most colorful of the grasshoppers. And so the technique that I used was a raw edge fusible applique. And I used that for everything on the plants, the grasses, stitched just went around it and stitched with my free motion quilting and stitched down my flowers and my plants with using different threads. It was kind of a challenge at first because I have not done a whole lot of that, but it was really fun once I got going and I enjoyed it. I did use some of my decorative stitches on some of the grasses in the middle and just tried to be creative and have fun.
The bug that I chose to produce is the tiger moth. It is, I use the technique of raw edge quilting, and then because it is so furry or hairy, I decided to use a needle punch to create the thorax and the head, and then the additional side fibers were done by hand, just embroidery. The background obviously is also raw edge, and it's quilted with the veins and vines of the leaves. The selection of the tiger moth was due to the multicolors and bright, bold distinction of the moth itself. One of the rules that we kind of established up front was that we wouldn't do any of the same. So we just sent everybody home to pick their bug and then came back to the group and said, all right, what are you going to do? And really, we didn't end up with any overlaps or too many overlaps that we didn't easily accommodate. Wow. So it was very easy to select your bug because everybody kind of found the one that they wanted to deal with. So,
thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sue Holdaway-Heiss, and I'm part of the Tuesday Night Friends. We've been meeting for 34 years. My son will be 34 this fall, and it's been 34 years of really fun times. I chose the Jewel Box Beetle. I like it because it's colorful, it's kind of dramatic, maybe a little bit scary, but it just kind of catches your eye. Again, it's fused on as far as the applique part, and I use a lot of fiber paint when I work, and again, I use that in here just to give a little more depth with the stitching, and just to make it a little more dramatic in the eyes and in different places. A lot of this is hand-dyed fabric that I don't dye, but I support people who do a really good job doing it, and so I have lots of that at my use. And I put it against black just to give the visual impact and a little bit of the sparkly rain just to give something in the background with a negative space.
So I'm Carol Sherry, and my quilt is of a Japanese lady beetle, and I chose that because Michigan has had many invasions of these kinds of little bugs, and I just really like the colors and the shape. And it's a raw edge applique with some tulle over it, over the small pieces. I say that I tend to work more in symbols and in words than other members of the Tuesday Night Friends. The other members do realism really well, and I knew that that wasn't a skill set of mine. So I started thinking about all the things that bugs mean in our lives, negative and positive. Bugs are beneficial to pollinate and to maintain the food chain, but they bug us, and we have a lot of language and a lot of images that are negative too about bugs. So that's why I included things like insecticides and words around eliminating bugs like repel, and we have language that talks about large groups of bugs, kind of coming in full force, and quilts and bugs are kind of out of control in our lives in a lot of ways. So it's just the way my brain works, working more in words and symbols. But it was really fun. The group, the Tuesday Night Friends, is very inclusive and very respectful of everybody's style and their skills and their level of experience. So it's really fun to do a group quilt challenge.
Well, I enjoy just about every technique and every aspecting of quilt making, but most often when I'm doing my own designs, I do applique quilts, and I really like to do quilts inspired by nature. I like to have a very strong sense of realism in my quilt, so I often use photographs as my inspiration. This particular quilt was made based on a photograph my daughter took. And I just loved the way the bee curled around into the flower. And so I was very attracted to the shapes and the artistic aspect of it. And then I also wanted to do a bee because I like the symbolism of a bee and how it's a very industrious and hard worker, and quilts take a lot of hard work.
I'm Sharon Greeley, and for me this was a real challenge because I haven't quilted in many years. And so my group pestered me until I said, okay, I will take it on. Of course, I had to choose something that I was interested in. And when we lived in the country, in the back of our yard was a woods, and the fireflies would be twinkling back there like lights. And so it was a fun thing to choose. I used the raw edge fusion applique system also, stitching around all the edges. And the hardest part, though, was getting the brightest part to look bright for the firefly. And so I also used paint for shading and some of the brightness. Still, it wasn't done the way I wanted it, so I added the crystals to it. But of course, you have to paint behind the crystals to make them show up. And so it was just a really fun challenge for me.
Now, you're actually a retired school teacher, is that right?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
And I think I asked you if you ever used quilting in your classroom.
Yes, I did. For geometry lessons, we made our own designs using different shapes, putting them together, and making maybe 12 by 12 inch quilts.
And that's absolutely wonderful. Was there anything else you'd like to share with us about your quilt today?
The only thing is that I work with the best group, and they do inspire people.
Hi, I'm Marianne Fielder. I chose the 6-spotted brunette moth because I like the color for one thing, and I chose the actual layout because I like the simplicity of it. The background is piece blocks from some gradation fabric. I wanted a pieced background just to keep it simple without leaves and things. The technique is machine applique again. All of the pieces are appliqued on and then machine quilted down into place. The eye itself, though, is a large, huge button from Joanne Fabric. When we were working on these quilts, we got together periodically to help plan them first of all, and then we would bring the quilts together every once in a while and hang them on the wall and critique them. Give everybody ideas on what to change, what to keep, ideas on how to represent different parts of the bugs that we were doing.
Now, would that have anything to do with what, like maybe 6 of you are teachers or something, and that's why you're up there critiquing
Maybe
one
so,
another?
that's right. 6 of the 8 that did the quilts were teachers at one time or another, and that whole critique process might just be part of it.
Hi, I'm Jane Collins, and I'm one of the few Tuesday night friends that doesn't live in the Ann Arbor area right now. I had to move a little ways away from there, so I don't get to see them as often, but once you're a Tuesday night friend, you're always a Tuesday night friend, so I'm still there. And the inspiration for my quilt actually came at the home of another quilting friend of mine. I was in her garden last August, and she has an incredible garden that was in the full bloom of late August when I was there. And she had milkweeds, milkweed pods and milkweed bugs everywhere. So her garden was just so beautiful, and even though I'm not necessarily a big fan of the milkweed bug, it is a cool bug, and it's an important bug, so that was my bug. That's where I started. I haven't designed all that many quilts myself. I usually follow other people's patterns, but this was really fun. It was fun from start to finish, and the way I started really was, well, first just with that inspiration, I wanted to create the feeling of a garden in Michigan at the height of the summer, and I bought this fabric here that's all cut up and pieced into the background. That one piece of fabric was where I started, and everything else just fell into line after that. So like I said, it was fun really from start to finish, and it was a blast to do it together. We critiqued each other's quilts as we went along, and I think that helped each of us to raise the level of what we did a little bit. So.
Now you're one of the two that's not a teacher. How is it being critiqued by all the other teachers on your quilt?
They're very gentle, they're very subtle and tactful, and it's great.
Excellent. Now, what does your friend think, the one where the inspiration came from?
Well, she loves it. She's actually here today. She'll be over here in a few minutes. She just thought it was cool that it was her garden that inspired me, and then a couple of months ago I was back at her house and we took a picture of the quilt out in the garden, so that was fun too.
Now, they talked to us about the guild itself, but I don't know if anyone ever said where the name actually came from. Why pick Tuesday?
Well, actually, I'm one of the new members of the group, probably 10 years, and I just heard a story 2 weeks ago that the way it ended up with Tuesday is one of the people that started it. Her husband had evenings out on Monday and Wednesday, and she thought she deserved an evening every week when they were first married, and so she picked Tuesday. Her friends followed, and it's been Tuesday Night Friends ever since. And that's going back, I believe, more like 30 years, although I wasn't around then. So, yeah, it's a long time group. Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you, Jane.
Thank you.
All right, well, ladies, thank you all for being here with us today and sharing all your beautiful quilts. I really appreciate it, and I hope we're going to see one next year in the challenge.
Oh, we hope so.
So have we got any ideas buzzing around?
We've done some brainstorming already, but nothing definite.
All right. Well, it was so great to meet you.
Thank
all
you.
of you ladies,
Thank
and we'll
you.
see you again next year. Thank you.